You know, it's the greatest privilege of my life to serve as vice president to a president who is so committed to protecting faith and freedom at home and abroad. But I have to tell you, I'm most proud to stand with a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. Since day one of this administration, President Donald Trump has been keeping his promise to defend the unborn. And under this president's leadership, and with your support, life is winning in America again. Life is winning through the steady advance of science that illuminates when life really begins. Life is winning through the generosity of millions of adoptive families who open their hearts and their homes to children in need. And life is winning through the compassion of caregivers and volunteers at crisis pregnancy centers and faith-based organizations like Focus on the Family that provide support for women in cities and towns all across this country. Life is winning in America, in a word, because of all of you who've supported a president and a Congress and the policies that uphold the sanctity of life. You know, this president's been keeping his word since the first day of this administration to stand for the right to life. From the outset of this administration, the president said that he would appoint justices to our Supreme Court and federal judges who would uphold the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution. And he's done that, starting with our newest justice to the Supreme Court of the United States, Justice Neil Gorsuch. In January, the president actually made some history by personally asking me to be the first official at our level to ever have the privilege to speak at the annual March for Life in Washington, D.C. And the president asked me to go. I said that at the beginning of my speech, Jim, but it really did happen. It was a couple days before that. We were looking at the course of the week, and Prime Minister May was coming to the White House that day. It was going to be a busy day, a very important foreign policy discussions, and they were trying to figure out whether the president could make the customary phone call to the March for Life to break away from those important bilateral discussions. And I was standing by his desk in the Oval Office, and they were having a hard time figuring out how he could get away, and I said, you know, rather sheepishly, well, you know, they invited me to speak too. And the president looked up at me and he said, to speak at the march? And I said, yeah, I mean, I said, I've gone before and we've done that before. And he's just pointed at me and he said, you should go. And I went because President Donald Trump wanted me to go and to make a strong stand for the right to life. You know, in fact, beyond that, one of his very first acts in Congress, this president reinstated the Mexico City policy to keep taxpayer funding out of organizations that perform or promote abortion around the world. And he even expanded that policy to cover $9 billion in foreign aid. And this president has eliminated U.S. funding for the United Nations Population Fund because American taxpayers should never have to support abortion in China or anywhere else. And the president signed into law legislation that empowered states to withhold funding from abortion providers, and it was my great privilege at the president's direction to cast the tie-breaking vote to allow states to defund Planned Parenthood. And later this summer, when we repeal and replace Obamacare, we're going to defund Planned Parenthood once and for all.